Good? Let's rock and roll. Okay, welcome back. Sorry for our late start. Beit HaBechira, the chosen home. We have been talking about the expansion of sacred Scrimmages. That is to say, that the Beis HaMikdash, the actual holy temple, can be expanded beyond its original structure. In fact, it can be made as large as the entire Har HaBeit. We learned that already. And we're going to talk about that more, Be'ezrat Hashem, in the days ahead. But first, we're focusing on the holy city of Yerushalayim. Some people call it Jerusalem. Yerushalayim is a very, very sacred and holy place. What makes a place sacred or holy? How do you even define sacred or holy? Well, the answer in a simple word is that a mitzvah enables us to be connected to Hashem. And there are special places on planet Earth that afford us additional opportunity to be close to Hashem. There is no city quite like Yerushalayim. In this city, special food can be eaten, food that elevates us, food that transforms us, food that serves to bring us closer to Hashem. Things like Meiser Sheni, special grain that has to be brought to the holy city of Yerushalayim. Things like the fourth crop of fruits, which are referred to as Kodesh Hilulim. Those are the fruits that we sing Hashem's praise over as we consume them in the holy city of Yerushalayim. And Kodshim Kalim, which are that pertains to offerings in the Beit HaMikdash, animal offerings and meal offerings, can only be consumed in the holy city of Yerushalayim. So what if we want to expand Yerushalayim? We talked about that in our previous class. You need to have 4 major mechanisms in place. How do you do it though? I'm glad you asked. So now, in Halacha Yud Beis, in the 12th Halacha, we're going to learn about the mechanism of how exactly we are able to perform Yerushalayim expansion. And so, the Rambam begins with a question. He says, V'cheitzad moisifin al ha'ir. How do we expand the city? And he answers his own question. Oisin bezdin shtei toidos. The bezdin, which really means the Sanhedrin, the ecclesiastical high court of the Jewish people, to whom special halachic significance is attached. There are certain mitzvahs that are unique to the bezdin. They represent the entirety of our nation. Torah ultimately is vested in their hands. The halacha will be decided as per the words of the Sanhedrin. When the Sanhedrin made an injunction, it becomes a mitzvah. Kechol asher yerucha, the Torah intones. You must do exactly as the Sanhedrin tells you. Leisaser min hadavar. There's even a negative mitzvah attached to this body of lawmakers only. Well, lawmakers is really the wrong word. Hashem is the lawmaker. They are the ones who interpret or download and apply the law, the judges. So the judges of the Sanhedrin, the Rambam simply says it Bezdin, but we know that this means Sanhedrin. We know that because everything here is based on the Gemara in Masechet Shavuos, on page 15, on page 16. The Gemara there talks about what happened in the time of Ezra and Nehemiah. Although, as you will find out, it's not exactly like that. But at any rate, there it is described that the Sanhedrin brought these 2 special korbanot. Now, korban toda is a korban which can be brought for a variety of reasons. It is a nedava. It's not mandated. It's something that we may choose to bring, except in the case of a nazir. But by and large, it is brought as an act of thanksgiving, an expression of our adulation and our appreciation towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's a very unique korban because it has to be eaten in one night. It comes with more flour, which means more bread, than any other korban. In fact, there's a sum total of 40 loaves. 4 are taken by the Kohanim. 36 go home with those who brought the korban. And it has to be consumed in one night. Many argue that this is the biblical source for a farbrengen. How else would you finish a whole animal and 40 or 36 loaves of bread unless you invited others when you would sing Hashem's praises and offer Him thanksgiving? Expanding Yerushalayim is an opportunity. In fact, it's a calling for us to give thanks. We are grateful We are grateful to Hashem to have the opportunity to expand holiness, to make Yerushalayim larger. So when we do this, the Beis Din has to bring not one, but 2 todot. There's nothing quite like this in the repertoire of animal offerings in the Beit HaMikdash. 2 offerings, todot, thanksgiving offerings, that are brought. Now the Rambam tells us, "V'loikhin lechem chometz shebehen." We take the lechem chometz. We take the leavened offering. I know in my little title I called it Mutton, Matzah, and Music, but that was just to catch your attention. It's not actually mutton because the korban itself doesn't come along. And the matzah doesn't really either. In fact, 30 of those loaves are unleavened, or matzah. 10 of those loaves, 10 are chometz, which means they're leavened. They're allowed to rise in the manner of sourdough. Now it's very interesting to note that according to the commentaries, these korbanot, when it says that we take lechem chometz shebahen, according to the Tosfos, and according to what seems to be other commentaries, it sounds like only lechem echad, one of each, because you'd have 20 loaves of bread that were chametz for 2 todot. Each todah has 40 loaves, 30 matzah, 30 unleavened, 10 would be leavened. 2, or rather 1 of each kind is given to the Kohanim. The matzah is 3 different kinds, the way that they're actually baked or scalded or kind of fried. So what's given to the Kohanim is 1 of each. Now, we're talking about the lechem chametz. We're talking about the chametz element of the todah. So you have each todah has 10 loaves of chametz. 1 would be given to the Kohanim. So we have now 9 loaves of chametz. The Rambam says, "Loikhin lechem chametz shebahen." You take the chametz bread amongst them. Like I said, the Tosfos seems to say that this refers specifically to 1 loaf. Although I've seen other commentaries suggest that it means all the breads. I don't know, but I'm just giving you both interpretations as I found them. V'holchen Beis Din achar shtei hatodos. The Sanhedrin then goes for a walk. They follow the 2 todot. V'shtei hatodot zo achar zu. The 2 todot are taken one after the other. Now, when it says that they take the 2 todot, does it refer to the animal offering, to the meat, or does it refer to the bread? So the commentators are pretty clear that this refers only to the bread, because the Rambam didn't say lokin lechem chametz im habasar. He didn't say taking loaves with the bread. The Rambam says lokin lechem chametz bahen. So we believe that this is actually 1 bread, 1 of each bread. And so if 1 of each bread is 2 breads, and the Beis Din goes achar shtei hatodot, does not mean that they are carrying the meat with them. It means they're carrying a loaf of bread, or maybe loaves of bread with them. And then, when they take this bread, v'omdim, and then they would stand, b'chinorot, uvnvalim, uvetzilzel. They would stand on every stone in Yerushalayim. It says, Al kol pina upina, at every corner, and it says they would stand, Al kol even va'oven, on every stone, shel Yerushalayim. And the oimrim, and they would chant, Are mimcha Hashem ki delisani. I exalt you, Hashem, for you have uplifted me. Now, this is known in Tehillim, really, as the chapter called Mizmor Shir Chanukat HaBayit. And I found it so interesting that the Rambam doesn't refer to the 30th Psalm as Mizmor Shir Chanukat HaBayit, which both Rashi says clearly refers to the 30th Psalm, and Rashi calls it the Mizmor Shir Chanukat HaBayit, and the Kesef Mishnah in his commentary in the Rambam also says that. The Rambam doesn't call it that. And I think that that's because the Rambam is explaining to us why this is a Todah. We are grateful to Hashem. We exalt Hashem because Ki Delisani, for He has uplifted us. We're grateful to be uplifted. To expand the holy city of Yerushalayim is to be uplifted. So let's get this straight. You stand at every corner, kol pina upina, al kol even va'oven. According to one version here, it says al kol even va'oven gedoyla. That's what the Magia and the Kesef Mishnah say. Which means if you stand at every stone, you'll probably be there for a month. So it says every major stone. And when we go to the Kotel, we can see smaller stones and larger stones. There's some very large stones. So I suppose that it would mean you go to the walls of Yerushalayim, which probably look something like the walls of the Kotel as we see them today. And there were some maybe large stones, maybe monumental stones. Stones that, people were familiar with. They had become like almost landmark stones. So you go to these landmark stones, to these big areas, and you go to every corner, which I'm presuming means that the wall, would run its course, and at a certain point, the wall would bend. It wasn't a round wall. So a corner means there could be a slight movement, whether the wall is expanding, and there would be corners at which points, at which juncture, the wall is slightly moving in a different direction. I'm presuming that's the meaning on every corner. So you go to every corner, every landmark or large stone, we have music playing, harps, lyres, and cymbals. Rambam doesn't say it here, but in all likelihood, that's the Levites who are doing this. And we are chanting a chapter of Tehillim. Now, the 17th century commentary in the Rambam that was authored by Rabbeinu Yosef Kurkus, he for some reason suggests that they would also read the 91st Psalm, Yoshev B'Seiter Elyon. He also suggests Mizmor LeDavid B'Varchei, which is the 3rd Psalm. I'm not sure why he suggests that you add those extra psalms. Maybe because instead of saying the same psalm again and again, they would move from one psalm to the next. Psalm 30 was in fact authored prophetically by David HaMelech for his son Shlomo to be sung and chanted when the first Beis HaMikdash would be dedicated. So this is the way they would go from place to place. And we know this because, as we said, this is a Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, and it actually follows the biblical description which is found in the book of Nehemiah, in the 12th chapter, verses 27 through 44. Actually, it says this clearly. And over there it says clearly, although the Rambam doesn't for some reason include this, that the music was played by Levites. So the music was played by the Levites. It seems that the Levites were the ones chanting as well. The princes of Yehuda, who really should have become, one of them should have become the Melech, should have assumed the throne, but unfortunately when the Jewish people first came back in the time of the second Beit HaMikdash, they did not have a Melech, and I know what you're thinking. Didn't we learn this can only be done when there's a Melech? Hold on, we'll get to that, Be'ezrat Hashem, in the coming days. So there it describes in great detail of exactly how this was done. Now, according to Rashi's commentary, Masechet Shavuot, it seems that the Kohanim, the priests, actually carried these 2 breads as they walked in the various places, and the Sanhedrin was following the breads carried by the Kohanim. And these, of course, were the Thanksgiving offerings brought by the Sanhedrin. What did they do next? Well, please join me tomorrow, and we will continue to learn Halacha Yud Beis to find out what they did to actually make this all work.